Peter Thiel, the legendary investor and entrepreneur, the man behind PayPal, amongst other things, in his book Zero to One, makes a really important point for us entrepreneurs when thinking about our idea, and it's just this: don't bet on developing a market. In the 1990s, everybody talked about first mover advantage. It was very big back in the dot-com days, and companies like Amazon proved that being the first had a huge impact, a compound impact on their branding, trust, and awareness. So everybody thought that you've got to be the first mover to make things work. And that kind of wisdom still persists today. People think that you've got to get first into a market to dominate that market and be fast. And that makes some people a little bit wary, a little bit bored of working with existing markets. You know, when you say you've got an idea, if somebody says, oh, well, so-and-so's already done that, don't ever take that as a reason why you should stop. And here's the reason why. Google wasn't the first, was it? I'm sure you use Google as your main search engine. But if you went back a few years, there was Lycos, AltaVista, Hotbot, Excite, and many others that came before that. Remember Yahoo? Well, that was years ahead of Google, right? Yahoo was one of the first movers. But Google now completely dominates that market. It's much better to be the last mover for a number of reasons. First movers have to make big bets on developing a market. They spend millions on educating customers, on developing business models and testing unproven concepts. Yahoo is a good example. Google sat and watched from the sidelines and built their solution based on what wasn't working with all the other guys. It's very unlikely that if there wasn't a Yahoo, Lycos, AltaVista, Hotbot, Excite, and all those guys that came before them, there wouldn't have been a Google. But those guys went out there, spent millions on developing their market. And those millions came from investors, everybody that bought into those companies because, you know, they were excited about these first movers. But effectively what they did was all of those investors who invested in these companies effectively did the market research for Google. So Google went in there with all this knowledge of what wasn't working and then built their own solution. So what does this mean for you in terms of developing your ideas? Well, you might not be the next Google, but there's an important point here about whether or not you should consider an idea because somebody else has done it. In so many examples, the most profitable businesses out there are based on ideas which other people have had. So my point is that you don't have to have a completely original idea. It's so often heard these days when you come up with an idea, somebody says, well, that's not original. There's never a reason you should give up on something. It's better to focus on an idea somebody else has proven works and then out-execute, i.e. do a better job of it. Because I guarantee to you that whatever ideas exist out there as running businesses in the market today, you can do a better job somehow. You might not be able to be bigger, you might not be faster, but there might be a specific niche that they're not targeting or a specific angle or a specific part of the service they're not providing that you can go in because you're smaller and more nimble and do a better job, right? So, very dangerous to go in and try and build a market which people aren't used to. You need a lot of money and a lot of time, and it's a big risk. Focus on what works already and do a better job. So what we're going to do in the next few steps is do exactly that. Find out what works already with your idea and can we improve on that? And there's a science behind this, and we'll talk about how you can do that by going in and using the tools online, looking for what ideas work and then looking for what's not working and what's broken with the current executions.